Hello everyone and welcome to the 10-minute security video series. My name is Ami.Hofman and the topic for today is secure web browsing. I want to start with a quick introduction before I show you how it works in the real world. In every organization there are multiple users or user groups that require some level of access to the internet. This creates a dilemma. Well, on one hand, the organization would like to allow users to browse websites freely through retaining a rather liberal approach, and on the other hand, the organization might want to restrict this type of access to avoid any unnecessary risks. This becomes an even more complicated scenario where employees require this type of access to perform their daily job, or when the organization cannot really block any type of internet access as part of the decision to retain freedom of access to information. A good example would be a university campus. So, the million-dollar question, what do we do? The traditional approach is to use some means of content filtering. This will be a device that sits in between the users and the internet, inspecting all web traffic and the respective content. The purpose is to identify bad or malicious websites, as well as to use as means of government enforcement to ensure users comply with the corporate policy. This approach worked quite well for a few years now, and we have seen some recent evolution in this space in the sense of move to cloud-based offerings to replace the old legacy on-premise physical boxes. This even applies to dimension data through our managed web gateway and web security as a service offerings. The approach is not effective today. Why? I would say there are a number of compelling reasons. I just want to highlight the key ones. The first is the concept of standard operating environment and corporate-owned devices is becoming less relevant. Today we have different bring your own device or bring your own mobile program. We have millennials in the work environment as a dominant force dictating new work behaviors, and above all we have an increasing adoption rate for cloud apps and cloud-based platforms. Second item is there is a clear growth in the volume and sophistication of threats in the world. This means that the approach of blocking known bad is not enough anymore. This acknowledgement is driving two schools of thoughts. One is looking at extending the traditional web proxy architecture by including advanced threat detection components such as sandbox. The other is evolved around creating a complete air gap between the internet, which is an untrusted media, and the corporate environment through what we call remote browser or remote web execution. The third element is the human factor. And with all technologies, regardless of whether it is a web proxy or advanced protection gateway, we have a direct dependency on a human to constantly configure and tune the device to ensure the policy is optimal and to provide a good balance between what we call best practice and what the organization really requires. There is a famous saying, your cybersecurity can only be as good as your weakest link, and in this example the human would be the weakest link, and as such this approach can never be bulletproof. The last element is the misconception we have seen around before, which associates threats with dodgy, bad or malicious websites such as online gambling, drugs or pornography. With all the research and growing awareness, there is a broad recognition nowadays that this is not the case, and advanced threats can be injected to legitimate or harmless looking websites, and it's very hard to classify or profile websites in any certain ways. The Secure Workspaces of Tomorrow is specifically looking at this new workspace environment and how we can help our clients and their internal users to work securely from every device and every location. This may sound like a very broad statement, but what we have done as part of the Secure Workspace in regards to my initial problem statement is to introduce the concept of safe browsing. What it means is, in plain language, it creates a true air gap between the users and the internet, so that regardless of what the content is, nothing comes into the corporate environment and there is zero risk to that environment. To do this, we have partnered with Menlo Security, who pioneered the idea of remote browser and this type of air gap. Let me show you how it really works. The first step is the risk advisor you see in front of you on the top left corner. This is currently available as a Chrome extension, which means that once you subscribe to the service, you can enable the extension. You will have to be signed on Chrome to enable this extension. Obviously, based on the email you've subscribed to, this will be available to you. The name of the extension is Menlo Security Risk Analyzer. And what it provides is a quick and real-time analysis of the website you're trying to browse. If I go for the main object, you see in yellow, in the yellow dashboard in front of you from left to right. The scripts indicator refers to active content embedded in the website. This can be things like Google Analytics, JavaScripts, directly on the website or loaded through other sources in the background, can be advertisement. Everything is rated based on reputation and known bad associated with the content. The background sites indicator refers to the number of websites that are in the background, running in the background, either as a reference or within an iframe. Similar to what I mentioned with the first indicator, the websites are rated based on their reputation, where we look for things like known bad categories, whether it's known to be vulnerable or whether it was involved before in a security incident over the last 12 months. Some good examples would be sites that were part of a phishing or a ransomware campaign previously. The last indicator is the CVID, which provides some indication of known vulnerabilities. The Analyze button on the right will take you into a more detailed report of what I've just described, and obviously this is part of the service. Now, to look at real example, let me show you one simple example that will help you understand what we can do in here. So to start off with this demonstration, at the moment I browse the internet directly and I want to go to a legitimate news platform, CNN. It will take a while. This is what we call a content-rich website. You can see the indicator is still going up in here. The scripts, the background sites. I'll just give it a few more seconds to load. If I just go through the site, there's quite a bit of active content embedded in here. This is not a simple HTML. There's quite a bit of active content in here. Just to give you some quick indication to what stands behind that, I go to View Page Source Mode, and just a quick browse through what we have behind the scenes. It's quite obvious, without being an expert, that there's quite a bit of active content in here. As you can see, this is a very content-rich website. If I go back to the website, you can see the indicators in here. The scripts indicator is 80, which is quite a bit of active content. There's an indicator in here which says there's more than 30 websites, background websites that are related, one in the background or referred to through this URL. And obviously there's known vulnerabilities. If I click on Analyze, again, this is all part of the service, it will take me to a more detailed version. So as a security professional, if I would like to get more context of what exactly the threat is, I can see there's some clear threat history in here. There's some vulnerable websites. There's a suspicious website. I can get more detail in here. Gives you a clear breakdown of the type of content that runs behind the scenes. Again, as I said, this is a content-rich website. Now, for the purpose of this demonstration, I would like to flick the switch. Bear in mind that in real-life scenario, the way we would go and implement that into the corporate environment might look slightly different. But for the purpose of the demonstration, all I need to do is just flick the switch, which means now traffic will go through Menlo. I'm going to refresh the website and wait for it to reload. And as you can immediately see, so first off, the general look and feel is exactly the same. The solution have not stripped anything. All the links, all the content is still available in here. It's just represented in a different manner. So what happens in here, the entire web session is executed remotely, and what makes its way to the endpoint, to the browser, is only the information that is required to display this website properly. So you can see in here the indicator looks completely different. If I go again, view the page source, you can see it's completely different, pretty much flat. There is no active content in here. Feel free to contact me on Ami.Hofman@dimensiondata.com. I'm looking forward to see you on the next video. Thank you very much.